Are you a wealth architect? That's somebody who wants to grow in all areas of life, not only financially, but mentally, physically, and spiritually. This is exactly what we're doing every single week on this show. I'm Emilio Despirito, your host of the Wealth Architect podcast, each and every week here. Wherever you're tuning in, we're glad you're here. We hope that this episode inspires you, motivates you to do something big, and maybe even blows your mind. Make sure you comment and interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get started. Today's Market Pulse is my favorite tool and is the 1031 exchange, right? So 1031 exchange allows you to not only sell current investment properties, but save on capital gains by trading up. When you sell a property with a 1031 exchange, you have to buy equal to or greater in value. So let's say if you're selling a single family home that's a rental property and you want to exchange it, you're going to take the proceeds, you're going to put them towards the purchase of equal or greater. You could turn that 1 unit into, say, 4 units or 5 units, which are all paying you rent. So you can increase your cash flow. You can also increase the asset class, and you can keep this thing rolling over time. Avoid very large capital gain taxes. Now, this is a deep subject, and this is something that you should definitely connect with a real estate advisor on, as well as a team that is experts in 1031 exchanges. So if you need those, you want to connect with us anywhere in the country, you could do that at wealtharchitectradio.com. Check out wealtharchitectradio.com, hit the contact section, and we'll help you out with that. Hey, a special thank you to our sponsor, Annie Mac Home Mortgage, whose Cash to Keys product is disrupting the industry. Sick and tired of finding the perfect home, not having your offer selected? I got to tell you, it happens all the time. With Cash to Keys, Annie Mac gives sellers a cash guarantee for each of their buyers' offers. Stop bidding and hoping. Instead, bid with Annie Mac and bid with confidence. Don't just bid, but win. Annie Mac Mortgage. When you're buying real estate, you need somebody that understands the ins and outs of the legal ends. It's so important to have the right attorney working for you. You also need a bulldog. Let me tell you something. The first time I sat in a conference room with this lady, Melissa Delana of Delana Law, I immediately knew she owned the room. You need an attorney that owns the room, that can solve problems and make things happen when everybody else can't. You want to hire Delana Law in Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Rhode Island. Delana Law delivers every single time. They're going to help you out with all of your real estate needs. It's delanalaw.com. You got to check them out. All right. Thank you for joining us here on the Wealth Architect podcast. This is season 3, episode number 14. And, you know, I got to tell you, the past 3 seasons have been so much fun. We have spoke with so many wonderful people with so many amazing backgrounds, and we are learning so much. We got a great guest here with us today. His name is Jay Conner, and he's somebody who has helped thousands of real estate investors break free from the traditional financing and step into true financial control. He's a nationally recognized expert in private money lending, a real estate investor, a speaker, and an educator who has built a system for raising capital without relying on banks. That's a huge thing. Through his teachings, he's shown investors how to fund deals using private lenders, creating speed, flexibility, and scalability that traditional financing cannot match. Private lending, as many of you know, is one of the most powerful tools in real estate, allowing investors to structure deals directly with individuals instead of institutions, often backed by real estate as collateral. If you've ever felt stuck waiting on bank approvals, I know I have, and you're looking to scale your business faster with more control, this is a conversation you want to lean into. Please help welcome Jay Conner with Jay Conner Companies. Jay, welcome to the program.
Emilio, thank you so much for inviting me to come along and talk about what I'm so passionate about, that being private money, private lending to get your real estate deals funded. The reason I'm so passionate about it is because ever since I started raising private money, all the way back in 2009, I've never missed out on a real estate deal for not having the funding. This one particular strategy, this one particular skill set has had more of an impact on our real estate investing business than any other thing that I've learned about real estate investing.
Oh, I love that. It's such an important topic, and as an investor myself, as somebody who's flipped homes, building houses, I always leverage private equity, but I do it from a private, like a hard money lender, a known lender. And I love your style. I listened to a couple podcasts you're on. This is why we asked you to come on, and you have a whole different take of it, really. And I love this. So we're gonna dive right in. Here's the deal, right, Jay? Most investors think they need banks to scale. What's the biggest lie people believe about financing real estate?
Well, there's more than one. So I don't know if I can identify the biggest one. So this is not a lie. It's a misconception.
Mm,
It's a myth is what it is. And I had the same misconception. I have walked the walk of missing out on deals for
hmm
not having the funding prior to me learning about private money. Here's the number one misconception. I believe that whoever had the money to loan, the bank, the mortgage company, the hard money lender. By the way, when we're talking private money in this world, I'm not talking about hard money. Hard
mm,
money is institutional money.
hmm
Private money is doing business with individuals, ordinary people, human beings that loan us real estate investors from and fund our deals from either their investment capital, liquid funds, and or their retirement funds.
hmm
I believe that whoever loaned the money, listen, I believed whoever loaned the money made the rules. I believe that whoever loaned the money did the underwriting.
hmm
They set the terms. They set the interest rate. They set the length of the note. They set the maximum loan to value. They set the frequency of payments. All that. That's what I believed because that's all I knew for many,
hmm
many years. But then everything, Emilio, changed in January 2009. I had a line of credit at the local bank, and I'd been using mortgage companies as well. We started investing in single family houses here in Eastern North Carolina back in 2003. Those first 6 years, I relied on the local bank, line of credit. And I had two houses under contract in
hmm
January 2009 to purchase. And I called up my banker, told him the funding required. He had funded a ton of deals for me those
Yeah.
first 6 years. And listen, Amelia, I learned like that on that phone call that my line of credit had been closed with no notice to me. My banker's name was Steve. I said, Steve, what in the world are you telling me my line of credit is closed? We've been doing a ton of deals, 6 years, never late on payments, got a perfect credit score. What's the problem? And Steve said to me over the phone, he said, Jay, don't you know there's a global financial crisis going on right now? I said, no, Steve, I don't know anything about that, but you just gave me a financial crisis. I don't have a way to fund these two deals. So I was cut off with no notice.
Mm.
And my definition of coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. In less than 2 weeks, I learned about this world of private money. I was able to raise $2,150,000 without asking anybody for money within those next 90 days. And since that time, I've never missed out on a deal for not having the funding. So here's why I bring up the myth, the misconception. When I learned about private money, the first thing that I had to get straight in my head, and people ask me, they say, Jay, I've never raised private money. What's the first thing I need to do? Here's the first thing you need to do if
Mhm.
you've never raised money, never been a capital raiser. And the first thing you need to do is own the real estate between your ears. What do I mean by that? Is have the right mindset. So,
Mhm.
what is the mindset? What is the crucial mindset on raising and attracting private money without ever asking for it? And here's the mindset: no chasing, no begging, no selling, no persuading at all. Hey, look, I got great news. If you're listening to this show and you've never raised money, guess what? There's no applications and you are already approved. Here's why. The way I raised my first $2 million, and ever since that time, over 50 million in private money lending, is because the people that loan me money, and I have been so blessed to educate, inspire, thousands of other real estate investors to raise private money just like this, is that not one of my private lenders. So over these years, Carol Joy and my wife and I, we've had 47 individuals, human beings, ordinary people, funding our deals. And you know what's interesting, Emilio? Not one of them ever heard about private money, private lending. They never heard of self-directed IRAs and how they can take current retirement funds and move them over to a self-directed IRA company and then loan that money out to us real estate investors. And the interest we pay them is either tax deferred or tax free. And you know how they became our private lenders? Here's how they became our private lenders with the right mindset. What did I do? I put on my teacher hat. And what's my teacher hat say? Private money teacher. Now, of course, I'm talking figuratively. I'm talking about the mindset. I'm talking about my heart. So I simply just went about educating ordinary people in my own connections, in my own network, people in my cell phone, people in my social network, people in my professional circle, service people. I mean, you know, who do I give money to every week at the dry cleaners? Who do I buy my cars from? You know, so I just started sharing with people and educating people that had a problem. And the problem they had was they were not happy with their rates of return on their investments. They were sick and tired of earning pennies at the local bank in a savings account or a certificate of deposit. And so once I diagnosed that they were not happy with their returns, then what did I do? I put on my teacher hat. I just simply educated them. And of course, I have a 5-step process on how to do that automatically. I just simply educated them on, well, here's how you can get returns safely and securely. I didn't go around throwing up on everybody about, hey, let me tell you about private money. Let me tell you about private money. Let me tell you about private money. No.
Sure.
First,
that'll come off as salesy.
Yeah. I'd simply ask a simple question. I said, like, you know, by the way, with everything going on in the markets these days, are you investing in stuff that's giving you high rates of return safely and securely? Are you happy with your investments? And once I diagnose that they're not happy, then I share with them this wonderful world of private money, how they can get high rates of return safely and securely. And again, you see, when you're borrowing from an institution or individuals that are already loaning out money, they make the rules, right? It's a negotiation. But instead of applying for mortgages or asking or begging and all that stuff, no, I'm offering an opportunity.
I love that. I love the opportunity to educate somebody on something like that. And when you look at it like that, it turns it from a sale to an opportunity. And I think that's great.
What you just said is so important. What you said is so important. Another part of the mindset is having a servant's heart. So you're focusing on them. You're not focusing on yourself. You're focusing on them as to how you can serve them. You know, Zig Ziglar says you look after enough other people with what they want, you ain't going to have to worry about yourself. So it's all about serving them and giving them an opportunity. And by the way, let me say this while it's on my mind because it's so important. I never pitch a deal. My students, my mastermind members, they never pitch deals. There's no pitching of deals. And the reason we don't pitch deals is because we separate the conversations. So don't miss this. And then I'm going to turn it back to you, Emilio. After all, this is your show. We separate conversations with a potential private lender between offering the opportunity. What's the opportunity? Well, we pay all of our private lenders the same thing. It's regardless of the single family house. So I've been paying my private lenders 8% ever since 2009. And they love it. 8%, that's a whole lot better than you get in the local bank. And with the volatility in the stock market recently, they're sick and tired of that.
Oh, yeah.
So we share how it works. What's the frequency of payments? How can you get your money back in case of an emergency? How are you protected? We don't borrow unsecured funds. Every private lender gets a promissory note, a deed of trust, or a mortgage. Name them on the insurance policy as the mortgagee. Same protection as the local bank. And then we don't bring up anything about a property until they tell us how much they want to invest. Then we call them up with the good news phone call, to deliver and put their money to work. And we get our deals funded 100% of the time.
You mentioned earlier on that you educate people, you tell them about the self-directed IRAs. Is that, would you say, is that probably the best avenue to go to work out of a SEP? I believe they're called SEPs, right?
Well, not necessarily. Now, over half of our private lenders are using their retirement funds to fund our deal, but it depends on the individual's situation. We have some private lenders that are just using liquid capital. We have some private lenders that are using their retirement funds. And how does that work? Well, we introduce them to the self-directed IRA company, also known as a third-party custodian, approved by the IRS, and they'll move their retirement funds, an old 401k collecting dust, etc. They'll move their retirement funds over to the self-directed IRA company, no tax consequences, no penalties. And once that account is funded, which normally takes a couple of weeks, then we'll put their money to work. They will invest those funds on a particular deal that we have. And then the interest that they accrue or we pay is paid back to their retirement account at the self-directed IRA company. And so it just depends on where they have money. We got some private lenders only doing investment capital. That's just liquid funds. We have other private lenders that are only using their retirement funds. And we have a number of private lenders that are doing both. They have just liquid capital and they have retirement funds. And so they'll use both. So it just depends on the situation that the individual has as to where their investment capital and or their retirement funds are and how much they have.
The reason why I ask is I've met a number of private lenders over the years that have operated out of the self-directed IRA. And, a lot of them have been telling me, hey, Emilio, you need to get on this. You need to get into this and you need to start putting any money that you earn from flip properties or properties you build into this and just keep operating out of it. And that's an area that I keep meaning to get into and interview somebody on. Is there a custodian or a company that you would recommend that I've seen some big ones out there, but is there somebody that you've worked with in the past you think would be a great guest for the Wealth Architect?
How about one that I'm working with right now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
in fact, I'll give you two.
Yeah.
I'll give you two that are phenomenal.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Collin, Collin, Colin Taylor.
Yeah.
Colin Taylor, I've worked with for years, and he is with Inspira, INSPIRA. I get my deals with my private lenders that have their retirement funds with Inspira. I call up Colin. Well, actually, I don't. Brenda Smith, my office manager, does. Emails him. Here's the deal to be funded by, this particular private lender's retirement account. I get my deals funded in 7 days, Emilio.
Beautiful.
7 days.
That's a lot faster than what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 days. If you want me to introduce you to Colin, I'll be glad to do that offline. And you can have him come on. You can interview him. I'll tell you another fantastic individual that I've worked with for years.
It's all about the network.
It's
all about the network, Jake.
Absolutely. So his name is Nate, Nate, Hare, Hare.
Yeah.
And he is with Directed IRA. And these two individuals, these two companies are fantastic to work with. It all comes down to customer service is what it comes down to. And, their fees are, comparable. And those are two wonderful recommendations I would give you and your audience to connect with.
That's awesome. We'll take them. Appreciate that and any introductions. So I wanted to go back to, the process here. And now you have a potential lender. You got this first conversation that's going. What is that? Like, how do you build trust to get them to say yes? I mean, you ask them that question about, hey, how are you, how's your money working for you, which is already a pretty hard conversation to have with somebody. I like the way you asked. What's that question? What are you saying? How are you getting them to trust you to now move all of that money over to you?
Well, first of all, they already trust me.
Because you already know
So
them.
yeah, I mean, I'm not talking with anybody about being a private lender with me unless I already have a relationship with them. Where do those relationships come from? I mean, you're going to run out of your own current connections sooner or later if you want to scale your business. So let's dive down into that. So there are three categories where you find private lenders. The first category is what I call your existing network that I
Yep.
alluded to a few minutes ago. Most of your existing network is already in your cell phone, right? They're already in your cell phone. There's another piece to your existing network that's really not existing, so I'll call it a separate category. And those are referrals from your existing network.
Kind of like what I just asked you there, right? Always ask.
Yeah,
Always ask for the referral.
absolutely. And so in fact, tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern time, I've got a Zoom scheduled with two ladies that have been referred to me. Never met them before in my life. We started texting this past weekend based on the recommendation of a common, very trustworthy individual that I am very, very close to. He's very, very close to them. He's made the connection so that trust has been transferred already from his connection to them over to me. So the transfer of trust, pretty much by the time you talk to someone that's been referred to you, they're ready to go. They just, I mean, they pretty much, they just want to make sure they understand the details. So you got your current network, you've got referrals, and then the next category is called what I call your expanded network. As I said, you're going to run out of your own. I mean, I got a huge network, right? I mean, I've got almost 5,000 cell phone numbers in my cell phone. So regardless of how small or large, you're going to run out sooner or later. So the next category is called your expanded network. How do you expand or blow up your network of trusted connections? Well, I teach a whole session on that at my live event, the Private Money Conference. But let me go ahead and give you a big one right here. A fast, like almost overnight way to blow up your trusted connections is by joining your local Business Networking International chapter.
Dude, I am in a BNI here in Rhode Island. I love it. That has literally blown my business up over the years. Man, I'm talking about millions of dollars over the years. Unbelievable.
You know what I'm
And
talking about.
the best connections. You learn how to public speak. Oh, man, absolutely. BNI
Yeah.
all day.
And so, my mastermind members, my Platinum Plus coaching clients, I require them to become active in a local BNI. And if there's not a local BNI, which there are in most places, I mean, here in the little Morehead City, North Carolina, 8,000 population, we started a BNI like 20 years ago.
I love that.
And so I require them to get involved. And here's the deal. As you know, I mean, Emilio, you're a Business Networking International member. The big secret there is don't join BNI to be a go-getter. You join BNI to be a go-giver, Giver.
Amen. Amen. That's right. The giver's gain.
Giver's gain. Ivan Meisner, coined that phrase, started BNI back in the 1980s. And here's a way you can be a go-giver. It's what I did years ago. After I joined BNI and I understand how it worked or whatever, I volunteered to be the education coordinator.
Hey, that's what I do.
Hey, Emilio, how did you know we have so much in common? Birds of the same feather
Uh,
flock together. And so, what's the education coordinator? Well, for 5 minutes, at least in our local chapter, for 5 minutes
yeah.
every meeting once a week, I'm giving a 5-minute education on how to be a better BNI member and how to be a
Mm.
better networker. Well, how in the world did I do that? I read Ivan Meisner's books and take a chapter out of his book and condense it and summarize it into 5 minutes. Well, what's that do? You're serving, but at the same time, there you are in the spotlight, education coordinator. So now you're viewed as one of the go-to members of the of your local BNI membership. I teach many other ways to blow up your network very quickly, but BNI is one of my favorites.
I love that. Amen. That's fantastic. So it's so funny how much that I have in common with so many of our contributors, and that's a big one.
Well,
So how
you
do
know
you
what I think
structure?
about that, Emilio, real quick. I don't know whoever
What's that?
came up with the phrase and the belief opposites attract. I think that's the most stupid thing I ever heard in my life. I want to be around other people that are like me,
Yeah,
like-minded,
better
same
than me.
same core
Yeah.
values. Oh yeah, I want to be around people better than me, but I want us to have the
Yep.
same standards.
That's right. Standards is everything. So Jay, how do you structure these deals to the lender so that they feel protected, right? They're shelling over probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions, and but you still maintain control and profitability. How do you do that?
So, as I mentioned, we do not borrow unsecured funds. Some people will invest in a fund that's called syndication. So
Mm-hmm.
you may have a capital raiser that is, got an SEC attorney that's drawn up a private placement memorandum, and let's say they're buying an apartment complex, and so they have a fund that people can invest in, and you're going to need to have your money tied up for 3 to 5 years. That's all well and
Mm-hmm.
good. I've got amazing friends, great friends in more than one mastermind group that I'm a member of. But in my world, we don't syndicate. Okay. I'm not raising money for a fund. In my world, here's how we protect our private lenders. Everything that I'm investing in are single family houses. So with single family houses, the raising of capital is not regulated by the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission. And here's why. Because I'm not borrowing unsecured funds. Every private lender is getting a promissory note and either a deed of trust or a mortgage, just depending on the state that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So we are collateralizing the note. We're collateralizing the note, and we're giving the private lender the same protection as the local bank or any kind of institutional money
Mm-hmm.
would get. They're getting, it's collateralized by the mortgage or deed of trust. They're named on the insurance policy as a mortgagee. They're named on the title policy as additional insured. How are we protecting them? In addition to that, we're not borrowing more than 75% of the after repaired value. So we're renovating all these houses.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I didn't say 75% of the purchase price. I said 75% of the after repaired value. That's why, because we're buying these properties at a discount, we always bring home a big check when we purchase the property.
Mm-hmm.
Because, let's say, for example, using small numbers, let's say I'm buying a house that's got an after repaired value of $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 75% of $200,000, 75% is 150,000.
Sure.
But I might be buying that house for 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be 30,000 of renovations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, follow the money. Follow the money.
20K in your pocket. Well, maybe 10K after closing.
Well, that's after renovation. So actually I got 50K. I got 50K in my pocket when I purchase, because there's no draws. There's no draws in this world of private money. So I go to closing. My private lender wires $150,000 in this example to my real estate attorney's trust account.
Mm-hmm.
See, the private lender never sends money directly to the real estate investor. No. All money is sent directly to the closing agent, the title company, or real estate attorney. Here in North Carolina, all closings are done by a real estate attorney.
Same here.
So I go to closing. There's the $150,000
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the real estate attorney's trust account. We got a settlement HUD statement. So of that 150, 100,000 is going to go to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
In this example,
Mm-hmm.
that leaves $50,000, what my real estate attorney's check stub calls excess cash to close.
Mm-hmm.
Excess cash to close, minus closing cost, of course. So I'm going to get a $50,000 check, excess cash to close. I'm not sending any of my money to the closing table. I'm picking up a check, and I'm going to take that 50,000. And in our example here, I'm going to use 30,000 for the renovation.
Mm-hmm.
That leaves me 20,000 to carrying cost. Maybe my private lender needs monthly payments to supplement income. So I'm going to use part of that 20,000 to pay their interest monthly if they're needing the income. That's the way it works. That's how they're protected, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's another way we protect them is money doesn't come directly to us. It goes to the real estate attorney's trust account.
All right. So you're renting these properties out. So you're buying them, you're rehabbing them, you're renting them out. No, you're not.
I'm not renting them out. If I'm renovating them, I'm not going to leave private money buried in them. If I'm renovating them and turning them into brand new, beautiful homes, I'm going to put them in the multiple listing service and cash out.
Got it.
However, Emilio, I've sold a lot of homes over these years on lease purchase or rent to own.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do with those is if I buy it creatively, say subject to the existing note or with seller financing, and there's no major renovation involved, I'll sell it on rent to own. Or I can use private money to purchase that home. But if there's not a major renovation involved, then I'll sell it on lease purchase.
Mm-hmm.
I've just learned the hard way. I tell you, Emilio, most of the most important lessons I've learned, I had to screw it up first to get it right.
Yeah.
So I got tired of renovating homes and turning them into brand new homes and then selling it on lease purchase. And then if they didn't cash out, I had to go renovate it again. Well,
Sure.
How many times you got to do that you don't like that? It depends on how you buy it and how much renovation is needed. But in this market, since COVID back in 2020, we've been flipping most of them. Our average profits are $86,000 per flip.
Wow. We've seen our profit margins really shrink here in Rhode Island, and a lot of that was from wholesalers. Wholesalers really took a large market share here. They're eating up so much of the equity. There's really not much left for the flippers. Are you running into that in North Carolina?
Well, I can't really say. Well, yes, I can say. What I was getting ready to say was I've never wholesaled a property in my life because I've stayed in every deal I've done. I've flipped over 500 houses.
Yeah,
However, nice. I have bought some houses from wholesalers.
Yeah.
But not recently.
There's no margin.
Wholesalers, there's no margin.
No.
So guess what? I don't buy from wholesalers. I do my own marketing.
Me either. I bought one or two from wholesalers, and they were both, break evens. All set. You got to find the deals. I'm so curious. Where are you finding the deals? Like, where are you finding these distressed properties?
Well, now, Emilio, that's a whole nother episode, but I'll give you the 30,000 foot answer.
Yeah.
So here we go. Let me blast it out to you.
All right.
And so these are not in any particular order because I do it all.
Mm-hmm.
I do it all. Number one, I have a foreclosure direct mail system that Carol Joy, my wife, and I started putting together back in 2004.
Wow.
22 years ago. We track and direct mail every family that is facing foreclosure, that's in pre-foreclosure. And we serve those people. We have a 8 sequential letter campaign that each letter is mailed out. They're all different. Mailed out every 3 days apart. Takes 24 days to go through the cycle.
Mm-hmm. And
so serving those people, we put money in their pocket. We help them get back on their feet. We never buy for what they owe. We help them. It's a win-win-win scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, direct mail, again, inherited properties. So we direct mail to pre-probate. And the reason we do that is because here in North Carolina, real estate does not go through probate.
Wow.
Real estate does not go through probate, which is very out of the ordinary with most states.
Sure.
So we do a 3-letter 90-day sequential campaign to families that have inherited property, that own real estate, and we show up with a servant's heart, serving them to help them walk through that process. Interesting statistic across the nation: within 2 years of someone passing away that owns real estate, within 2 years that property is sold and no longer in the family. How else? Google ads, pay per click. Google ads. You can do either pay per click or you can do pay per lead. What's the difference? Pay per lead is you are paying a third party vendor that's running pay per click campaigns in your local area, but you're not paying Google any money. You're paying the company, the third party, per lead that they provide you that came from Google. Outbound calling. I bought houses from outbound calling. I've had full-time outbound callers that call all different kinds of lists: absentee owners, distressed, code violations, utilities that have been turned off. I mean, as Emilio, as a real estate investor, there's a ton of different categories. Facebook. Buy a lot of houses off of Facebook. So I run 2 different campaigns a day. One's called the generic campaign. The other's called the distressed seller campaign. So I just got 2 different ads running, and both of them have me holding a yellow sign on a street here in Morehead City, North Carolina, that says, "I buy houses," with the phone number on the sign. Facebook won't let you put a phone number in the ad, but my phone number is on the picture.
Smart.
Of me holding the bandit sign. There's lots more, but at least that's a start to the conversation.
I mean, and I've got like 10 other questions I could be asking you here, but I would just say this to any of our listeners: if you are interested in any of this content, and if you're interested in how to raise private money and scale your real estate business without banks, and you want to hire a coach to do so, you should really go ahead and contact Jay Conner at jayconner.com. That's JAYCONNER.com. And you can find out so much more. Jay, you know what? We have a section on our website, wealtharchitectradio.com. We call it The Vault. And this is where our contributors, like yourself, can put something of value in there for our listeners. And they can go ahead, go on the website, they enter their email, they enter their name, and then they can download this. Do you have anything you want to add to the vault? And if so, what is it?
Absolutely. I've got all kinds of things we can add to the vault. In fact, 3 things. You can add all 3 if you want to.
Yeah, we'd love it.
So the first one is, one of the common questions I get with new capital raisers is, how do I start conversations? I mean, what do I even say to a potential private lender to start the conversation? So I have my private money $1 million script collection.
Perfect.
There's 12 different scripts of how to start conversations, how that should go. And so if you're listening to this show, you go there into the vault, you can download the very first script. It's called the Curiosity Opener Script, how to start a conversation. You can download that script absolutely for free. It's a PDF. And you can get it at jayconner, JAYCONNER.com/scripts, jayconner.com/scripts. Secondly, my national best-selling book is called Where to Get the Money Now: How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. And so this book, I will autograph it for you. I'll express mail it to you. You can get it for $20 on Amazon, but don't go to Amazon. Let me just give you the book for free. Just cover shipping and handling. You can pick up my book at jayconner.com/book, jayconner.com/book. And then thirdly, I put on in person live the Private Money Conference. The Private Money Conference. There's not another live event like it in the nation. And you want to raise private money? Get yourself in person. I have real estate investors come from all over the nation here to our hometown in Eastern North Carolina. You can go check it out and read all about it at www.jconnor.com/event.
Awesome.
jconnor.com/event. It's a $3,000 event for you and a guest for 3 days. But guess what? Because you are here listening to Emilio's show, you and your guests get to come for free instead of $3,000.
Wow.
With only a $97 registration fee to reserve you and your guest seats. So there's 3 great big gifts for you. Take advantage of all 3.
Wow, that's amazing. Awesome. Jay Connor, real estate investor, coach, entrepreneur. You're the man. Appreciate you being here with us in the Wealth Architect Radio.
Thank you, Emilio, for having me.
You're welcome. Awesome. When you're considering buying a home or a condo or even an investment property, it's so important to hire the right home inspector. Specifically, if you're in Rhode Island, the home inspector that I always like to recommend is Mike Auger of Patriot Home Inspections, homeinspectorri.com. Why do I use Mike? Number one, he's not an alarmist. He's not going to scare you. He's going to walk you through everything you need to know about the house. You can follow him around like a puppy dog. Ask as many questions as you can. He'll tell you how the heating system works, how the electrical works, how the plumbing is, and he could save you thousands of dollars or even a future headache. If you are looking to sell a home, it's important to disclose as much information as you can ahead of time, and Mike Auger can put together a pre-list home inspection report. So when your realtor represents you and gives the buyer's agent the report, everything is disclosed that needs to get fixed, and the price is the price, and you sell your home like that. There's so many benefits to using the right home inspector. And again, Mike Auger with Patriot Home Inspectors, homeinspectorri.com. Check them out. Up next, we're diving into a topic that I believe separates those who build wealth from those who stay stuck financially. And that's understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt. Joining me in the studio is Jeff Swiderski, branch manager at Annie Mac Home Mortgage. Jeff works on the front lines of lending every single day, helping buyers, investors, and homeowners structure financing in a way that supports long-term financial growth, not just short-term transactions. Because the truth is, debt isn't the enemy. Misused debt is. Used the right way, debt can be a tool to build wealth, acquire assets, and create leverage. Used the wrong way, it can trap people in cycles that are very hard to break. We've all seen it. So today we're going to break it down, and we're going to talk about what's good debt and what's bad debt and how to actually use financing as a strategy to move forward. Jeff, welcome to the Wealth Architect.
Thank you, Emilio. Good to see you again.
You're welcome. Always great to see you, Jeff. It's funny because we're raised to think, oh, debt is bad. Mortgages are bad. It's all bills. So I'm really curious to hear your take on this, the difference between good and bad debt.
It's funny too, because it's almost generational, like our parents' generation, that was hugely true. They that was how they lived, and, credit cards really weren't even that much of a thing back then.
True.
So yeah, I mean, when you think of good debt versus bad debt, it's, I don't want to simplify it to just, is it making you more money? But that is a great way to think about it. When you think about leverage, like that is what leverage really means by definition. Like, is it levering you somewhere further? Is it, you think of a literal lever, and the whole point of it is you push one end and it lifts the other end up. So that's really the core principle of how you should look at good debt versus bad debt. If you are just living outside of your means and you're going to, the grocery store and out to dinner and all of these things and putting it on a credit card, it's feeding you, I guess. So there is something to be said there, but it's not advancing you financially. It's not levering anything to a better position. If you're looking at taking out a mortgage on an investment property, all of a sudden you have a cash flowing asset, you have an appreciating asset.
True.
So it's just that very core principle in its simplest form of, is it making you money or not?
It's funny because all of those people that told me debt, just, blanket statement, debt is bad, they're all broke.
Yeah.
They're all have a ton of debt, but bad debt.
Yeah.
Credit card debt, student loans, and not that all student loans are bad, but it's just all that suffocating debt that really doesn't do anything for you. Owning something that pays you every month is an asset, or appreciates every month is an asset, completely different.
Yeah. Not really take that a step further, but to look at it from a different lens. When you just think that debt is bad, let's look at a mortgage on a primary home, because this is one that always comes up as a debate. It's not technically levering anything, right? Like you're not taking out that mortgage and gaining anything financially, per se. It's not paying you. It's not an investment property.
Mm.
The flip side of that is it is an asset. Like it's still going up in value. You are still, on average around here making 5+% per year just in appreciation.
Sure.
You're also paying that balance down. So you're creating that delta between what you owe and what the asset is worth every year that goes by. So it is making you some money. But it's not, cash flow in your pocket. The flip side of that, and I say this all the time to people, is I don't believe that prepaying a mortgage on your primary home is a good financial decision. I think it's an emotional decision.
Why do you say that? I'm curious.
So you look at exactly what you were saying before, we grow up and we just think debt bad, debt bad, debt bad. So you have to think about time horizon. So, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it, make it. Those who don't understand it, pay it. So like that's why it's the eighth wonder of the world, because you either understand compound interest or you don't. So time horizon is the only thing that matters if you're talking about compounding. You have to start here and it makes you 10%, and now you make 10% on your initial investment plus that 10% and yada yada. That's the snowball. So if you're prepaying a mortgage when you're 25 or 30 or whenever you bought your first home, say you're prepaying it by $200 a month, say. If you took that $200 and just put it in an index fund, which is pretty secure, it's going to return more money over that 10, 20, 30 year time horizon compared to what it's going to save you in interest saved. So that's why I say it's an emotional decision, because when you look at the math, at the end of 30 years, would you rather have your house that is now owned free and clear plus, whatever that is, $250,000 or more sitting in another account?
Sure.
Or would you rather have a paid off house in 20 years?
Yeah.
Like when you do that math, it doesn't math.
It does not add up.
Yeah.
That's great. I had not thought of it like that.
Yeah.
That's great. And that's what this show is all about, right? Grab your pen, grab your paper, grab your phone, whatever it is. Take these notes down. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. I mean, all over the place, Instagram. And if you have any questions as well, too, for Jeff, you can go ahead and go check out wealtharchitectradio.com, and you can contact us there, or you can Google Jeff Swiderski, Annie Mac Home Mortgage, and you'll see his website, too. He'll pop right up. So, Jeff, where do you see people misuse debt the most, right? What's quietly hurting them financially that they may not even realize?
A lot of it almost always goes back to discipline. I think when you look at just a household, a business, whatever, you have to know where your money is going first.
Correct.
You do have to know what's coming in. Obviously, that's, the basis of a budget. But I think an expense report is almost more important than just understanding your income position, because where your money's going and where the leaks are, and, how many people have multiple Netflix subscriptions that they don't even know, like all of those things. But most people don't realize, if you said, you have a $500 a month eating out budget, they don't know if they're higher or lower than that number, which is the core problem. So I think an expense report helps. But in terms of where they're misusing debt, once you are in debt, that's where the hardest decisions come in. Are you going to buckle down and, use the snowball effect and start with just the smallest balance and pay that account off and then snowball into the next one? I think one of the things that a lot of people fall into the trap of is they'll accrue, we'll just say like $25, $35, $40, $50,000 in credit card debt or miscellaneous debt, auto loans, all of the things we were talking about before, things that aren't making you money. And then rather than trying to find a way to restructure that with other unsecured type debt, they'll refinance their house or they'll take out a home equity loan. And I'm not saying that those strategies don't work sometimes.
That was my next question.
In some scenarios, because they of course do.
Yeah.
But I think if you can rebudget and transfer credit card balances to a zero interest credit card balance, the number of people that don't realize how prevalent that still is in today's market is, really unfortunately sad, because they're paying 25, 30% interest on some of these credit cards. And you could just transfer that, $6,000 or $10,000 balance to a zero interest credit card for 18, 21, whatever months.
Wow.
And you have a year and a half to actually make a substantial dent in that balance rather than just paying interest on it.
Wow.
So sometimes it's just rethinking your strategy.
Yeah. Well, that's a great strategy too.
Yeah.
So where do they find those? So you find those on like creditkarma.com, or like how are you finding those? You
Yeah.
just go to Google, ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, Google, ChatGPT, those are good friends. NerdWallet, great platform. They break a lot of things down, very simple terms. We'll show you whether or not there's a fee associated with the card, all of those things.
So when you're closing down a credit card, right, or transferring the balance, if you transfer I've never done this before. If you transfer the balance, does that close that credit card down?
No, so it's like it's
So it
almost the
keeps it
equivalent.
open.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah. So it's almost the equivalent of making a payment from another card to that card. So there is a fee involved. Let's say you're going to pay whatever 3% of the balance, but you're going to pay that in interest in the first month anyway. So
Yeah, right.
you're better off getting it to the no interest situation and then aggressively paying on that.
Wow. And Jeff, that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about working with you. And when I have clients that are, looking to scale, looking to really build wealth for their family, I always want them to align with people that are going to help them do that. And that's what this program is all about. That's what our network is all about. And if you're listening to the show and you're like, hey, you know what? That's really fantastic. I want to go ahead and talk with Jeff. I strongly suggest hit Google, Jeff Swiderski, Annie Mac Home Loans. He's going to pop up. Go ahead and click on that. Go ahead and connect with him. Let him know you heard it here on this show, and he'd be happy to help you out. Even if he can't help you buy a home right now, he can give you some guidance. And I think Annie Mac, by the way, I'm going to give you guys a plug for a second. You can do business in all 50 states, right?
Correct.
All right. We have listeners from all over the world. We can't help you if you're outside of the country, but if you're in the United States, we can definitely help you with that. So for someone looking to grow their wealth, how should they be thinking about leverage without overextending themselves?
There are so many fun strategies in there, and I'm really glad you said over leveraging, because even when you look back at the financial crisis as an example, a lot of people that did go under, it's because they were over leveraged at that time.
All day.
Yeah.
Old school cats that have been in the business a long time with investing. I invest as well too. They say, hey, you never want to be over I think they said 65% not debt to income. Loan to value.
Yeah.
You never want to be over a 65% loan to value.
Yeah.
That's not always easy to do.
Because
Right.
if when the rent stops coming in and you
Yeah.
have to fire sale, one asset, you want to make sure it's one asset, not all of a sudden you have 10 assets that you're upside down on and
Right.
now you're foreclosing. That's where the issues come in.
Mhm.
So yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think one of the hard parts of that for a lot of people is starting slow. Like how many people get into real estate and maybe they house hack into the first multifamily, great strategy, the cash on cash return is like borderline infinite. It's just, I mean, it's the most fun thing you can do. But let's say somebody buys a single family and then they take out a home equity loan with the sole purpose of buying that next investment property. Do that slowly. You don't have to all of a sudden go from one door to 10.
Yeah.
And that's where some people do get lost, is they try to just do it in hyper fashion. But
Comparison. It's because they're comparing themselves to everybody else.
yeah, right.
You know, right?
And the guy on Instagram probably did it over the course of 15 years.
Or he didn't
So,
do it at all.
Yeah, that too. That's
Like how much of it is that? It's like, remember back in the 90s, we had a term called posers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, if you're finding yourself, looking on Instagram saying, wow, everybody else's life is so much better than mine, just understand that most of it is posing. And if it was the 90s, we'd be calling these people posers, right?
Yeah.
There's some times where I put stuff on Instagram. I was like, oh man, I look like a poser. And I took it off. That term just really, it was beaten in my head in the 90s. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Stop posing. So, all right. So Jeff, if someone is listening right now and feels buried by debt, what's the first smart move they should make to turn things around? That credit card thing was a great tip. Are there any others?
Yeah. You have to be willing to do the hard work, and like there's nothing that's going to give you a better return, because when you think about financial health, when you think about actual health, all of those things are so intertwined. If you're going to bed thinking
That's
about
right.
your debt, then you're not getting a good night's sleep. We all, For anyone that has been there, that's just a burden. Number one, don't go it alone. If you don't understand how to budget properly or reset your budget, all of those things, it's easy to talk to someone that's going to be very helpful. There are actual free counselors. There are a ton of assets and resources that you can, same thing, just find online. But if you're at a point where you do have other assets and you just don't know how to use them, let's say maybe for some of those people, it does make sense to take a home equity loan, and all of a sudden you're converting 25% debt to 6% debt. There are so many strategies that you can employ on a case-by-case basis, but if you have assets and you have resources, don't be afraid to use them. That's the whole point of building wealth, is sometimes you have to take a step back to take two forward.
That's right.
And, it's not always ideal. Nobody wants to think, I have $400,000 in equity and now I only have 200. But the other reality is maybe that is what gets you to the next step in your financial future.
That's right. And, I remember when I was down and out and broke as a joke, right? No one wants to help you when you're broke, right? Or so you think. I remember I'd go to the bank and I was like, can you stop hitting me with these overdraft fees? Because now you're just like, the overdraft is overdrafted. And it's like, I can't get out of this hole. And it was like probably negative $300, which was $1 million to me at the time, just compounding, getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I go and I reach out to a financial advisor, and a financial advisor laughed at me like, look, you need money for us to. And it's like, so I love the advice that you're giving here, Jeff, because it's like, look, anybody could be at any point and they could be at their absolute lowest. And just to know that there are numbers you could call, there's resources out there for you. Hit Google, hit ChatGPT, just do a little bit of research on your own. If you can afford the internet, go to a free library. Like, you have to start somewhere. And I also love what you said about the discipline, because that's what got me through it too at my worst days. Is I just focused on not wasting any little money I got. I focused on negotiating my debt down. I focused on working 10 times harder than everyone else so that I could earn that money, earn that living. And if you don't have that in you, then you're going to stay stuck, right? So you got to find something that gives you that strength, whether it's God, whether it's, a mentor, whether it's reading a book, whether it's something, support online, support from people that have done it and gone through it. Make sure you're doing that. So, Jeff, what a great message today. I appreciate you coming on The Wealth Architect with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And
You're
I
welcome.
agree. You can always build wealth from any level. We're all headed in the right direction.
We can all do it. We're in the best place in the world to build wealth, to be creative. And we appreciate you so much for joining us here at the Wealth Architect Podcast. I'm Emilio Despirito, and we want you to go to wealtharchitectradio.com. Make sure you do that. Check out the vault section. We got a lot of really great content in there from our previous guests, and you can download that for free. A lot of great stuff in there. We appreciate you. God bless you. We'll be back here next week on the Wealth Architect Radio. We'll see you then.